There's a moment, and if you're watching this, you've probably experienced it. Something changed in you, not all at once, not with some big dramatic turning point, just quietly, over time. Like you slowly started coming back to yourself. You stopped explaining yourself to someone who had already decided who you were. You stopped making yourself feel smaller so that they could feel bigger. You stopped waiting for something that was never going to come. And I want you to hear how significant that actually is, because that kind of shift, that quiet return to yourself after everything that relationship took from you, that's not small. That is one of the hardest things a person can do. And you did it. But somewhere in that quiet, hard-earned stillness, they noticed. Because someone had built their entire way of relating to you on the assumption that you could always be moved and pulled back in. But when they looked at you and couldn't find that anymore, something inside of them shifted, and not in a good way. I'm Kassandra Malik, therapist, coach, and certified narcissistic abuse treatment clinician. In this video, I want to talk about what actually happens to a narcissist when they realize that they've lost their grip on you, and the one move they make when nothing else has worked. Here's something that took me a long time to realize about narcissists. They can seem completely checked out when it comes to your pain. Like they genuinely don't notice when you're hurting. And in a lot of ways, that's true. Empathy obviously is not their strong suit, but your attention, your emotional engagement, they track that like a hawk. So when you start pulling back, when the desperation leaves your voice, when you stop reaching out, when you stop explaining things, they immediately feel it. And that's before you even make a conscious decision to leave. Pulling back doesn't feel like strength in the moment for a lot of women. It feels like emotional exhaustion. Like you just ran out of energy to keep on trying. And I want you to know that that's okay. You don't have to get it done perfectly or intentionally to have it count. The fact that you got there is what matters. Your healing unsettles them in a way that they can't even put words to. Here's what's actually true about what you were to them. Not a partner, not someone that they genuinely loved in the ways that you deserved to be loved. You were supply, you were attention, you were validation. You were the mirror that reflected the version of themselves that they needed to believe in. And when you stopped being those things to them, something close to panic started to settle in underneath all of that composure that they worked so hard to maintain. The usual things stopped working. The guilt trips didn't land, the silent treatment didn't work anymore, and the provocations didn't cause a reaction. That's when they go somewhere different, because all of the regular tactics don't work. Now, here's the part of the video that I really need you to pay attention to, because this tactic is different than anything else that they've tried. It doesn't look like cruelty that you've learned to recognize. It doesn't look like rage, punishment, or the silent treatment that you know so well. It actually looks like growth. When a narcissist has tried everything to reel you back in, and none of those tactics work, they perform a transformation. Not a real one, but a performance that can leave you so convinced that they've actually made positive changes. They show up softer, more reflective, and may even take elements of accountability for their behavior within the relationship. They acknowledge specific things that have hurt you, and even use healing language in your conversations. They bring this new version of themselves right to you that feels sincere, that feels honestly like a miracle. And if this has happened to you, you know how confusing this is. Because you've done the work, you understand the patterns, you know what this relationship was. And yet when this version of them shows up, something inside you still responds. Some part of you leans towards it. Let me be clear, that isn't a sign that you haven't healed enough. That is a sign that you genuinely love this person and you really wanted it to work. You wanted the repair. Here's what's actually happening though. While you've been healing and doing the work, they've been watching. And now they're using all of that information to construct a version of themselves that would be appealing to you. It's the Hoover maneuver, but at a level of sophistication that most people don't see coming. The parts of you that still feel hope and love for this individual will be intrigued by this transformation. And those parts of you will say, maybe this time things are going to be better. Maybe this is real. That's the trick, the last dirty trick. And when it works, it isn't because you weren't paying attention or you weren't healed enough. It's because you're a kind, empathetic person, and they've always known how to weaponize the best parts of you for their own good. I want to bring this into the body now, because it's not just the dynamic between you and this person. There's actually neurological changes that happen within your body. When the performance of change arrives, the softness, the kindness, the gentleness, your nervous system doesn't process that as manipulation. It processes it as relief. And here's why. Your nervous system spent months or years inside that relationship in a state of low-grade alert, which we call hypervigilance. You're always scanning the room, scanning moods, and always trying to stay one step ahead so you could protect yourself before the next shift happened. Your body was doing its job in an environment where the threat was real but unpredictable. So now when they show up with warmth, softness, and accountability, your body responds to the way that it was trained. Your body remembers the relief that used to follow after the tension. I want you to sit with that for a moment, because so many of the women I work with carry so much shame around this moment, around the fact that they almost went back. Or maybe they did go back. But if we look at it at a physiological level, that response makes complete sense. You were in a relationship where you were trained for months or years to respond in this very way. Now, this is the important part to remember. Real transformation can sustain itself. Performative transformation will start to crack eventually. And when it starts to crack, but you maintain your boundaries, you don't offer surrender, and you don't follow their directive or guidance with things that make you feel unsafe, the pressure behind their mask will start to build, and it starts to slip. Little things at first, a flash of impatience, an edge in their voice, and then the reframe. Suddenly your caution is the problem. Your healing is too rigid. Your clarity isn't right. You're doing things wrong. And because your nervous system has been trained for so long to doubt itself, you may start having flickers of that again. When that happens, take a pause. Notice what's happening in your body. Is it the urge to start explaining again? That feeling of tightness in your chest? Or the urge to defend your own reality? Remember, that is an old pattern that you are rewriting. The final tactic exists for one reason, which is to pull you back from the version of your life that doesn't revolve around managing someone else's instability. This work takes a lot of courage, so I commend you for taking that journey. If you want to learn more about why you struggle with negative feelings towards him, or you continue to defend him, you can check out this video up here.